France. A name that conjures 1,000 images. The Eiffel Tower, piercing through morning mist. Lavender fields stretching toward distant mountains. Ancient villages frozen in time. But what makes France more than a collection of postcards? What transforms a country into a feeling? This is not a documentary. This is a discovery. An invitation to see France not as tourists do, but as those who truly know it experience it every day. Over the next hour, we'll move beyond the surface. This isn't just a travel guide. This is an invitation to see France as few outsiders ever do. We're just getting started. Subscribe to our channel to rediscover the world through a fresh lens, one journey at a time. Are you ready? Let's begin. Paris is not one city. It's 20 arrondissements, each with its own heartbeat. 130 square kilometers where art, commerce, power, and romance exist in delicate balance. The city wakes before dawn. Bakers arrive at 3 a.m. to prepare the day's bread. By 7, the scent of fresh croissants drifts through narrow streets. This is the Paris locals know. Not the monuments first, but the rituals. The perfect espresso. The newspaper folded just so. The greetings exchanged with the same shop owner for 20 years. The Marais district tells Paris's story in architecture alone. Medieval foundations support 17th century mansions. Gay bars light up streets where royalty once walked. But the heart remains the islands. Ile de la Cité, where Paris was born 2,000 years ago. Where Roman soldiers built a settlement and called it Lutetia. Notre Dame Cathedral, 850 years old, damaged by fire in 2019, yet still standing, still drawing millions who come to witness what human hands can create when guided by faith and ambition. 37 bridges cross the Seine within city limits, each one a chapter in Parisian history. Pont Neuf, the oldest, completed in 1607. Pont Alexandre III, the most ornate, built for the 1900 World's Fair. The Latin Quarter earned its name centuries ago when scholars spoke Latin in the streets. Today, it's still Paris's intellectual heart. The Sorbonne, the Pantheon, Shakespeare, and Company Bookshop, where writers still gather. But here's what guidebooks miss. The real Paris exists in the pause between destinations. The cafe where you're not rushed, the park bench where locals rest, the small museum with no queue. Yes, the Eiffel Tower glitters every evening at the top of each hour. Yes, it's magnificent. But it's also just part of the skyline for Parisians heading home after work. The secret of Paris is this. It's not a museum. It's a living city where 8 million people wake up, work, love, argue, and dream. The monuments are beautiful, but the soul is in the everyday. Leave Paris behind and France transforms. The pace slows. The sky opens. The land reveals itself. France has 35,000 communes, small towns and villages where traditions persist, where the church still marks time, where everyone knows your name by the second visit. Provence, Burgundy, Normandy, Alsace. Each region is its own country within a country. Different accents, different foods, different ways of being French. Provence in summer. Lavender fields so vast they seem to reach the sky. The air itself turns purple. This is where Van Gogh painted his most famous works, trying to capture light that seems to vibrate. Villages like gourds cling to hillsides, their stone buildings warm as honey in afternoon light. These aren't reconstructions, they're continuations. People have lived on these stones for 800 years. The weekly market is still the social center. Not just commerce, but connection. The farmer who grew the tomatoes tells you which ones are sweetest. The cheesemaker explains how long each wheel has aged. Burgundy's vineyards have been cultivated since Roman times. The same families have worked the same plots for generations. They'll tell you they don't make wine. They reveal what the soil wants to express. A small producer might make only 2,000 bottles a year. Normandy looks like a painting by Monet, because it was. The artist captured these gardens, these light effects, these reflections in water exactly as they still appear. These beaches hold memory. On June 6, 1944, thousands died here to liberate France. Now they're peaceful again. Families vacation here. But plaques and monuments ensure no one forgets. Mont Saint-Michel rises from the sea like a vision. A medieval abbey on a tidal island, one of France's most recognizable silhouettes. The tide here has the greatest range in continental Europe. At low tide, you can walk to it. At high tide, it's surrounded by water. Monks have lived here since the 8th century. The architecture defies logic, massive stone structures built on a tiny island. Yet it has stood for over 1,000 years. In the Alps, villages like Chamonix sit in the shadow of Mont Blanc, Western Europe's highest peak. This is where modern mountaineering was born, where adventure seekers come to test themselves against stone and ice. The mountains remind us we're small. France stretches from Mediterranean beaches to Alpine peaks, from Atlantic storms to continental plains. Geography shaped the culture, made the people hardy, made them value home. Provincial France moves slower not from laziness but from wisdom, from knowing that dinner with family matters more than rushing, that seasons must be respected, that some things can't be hurried. The French don't just eat. They practice a philosophy with each meal. A baguette has 4 ingredients: flour, water, salt, yeast. Yet French law dictates exactly how it must be made. The crust must crack a certain way. The interior must have irregular holes. This Charles de Gaulle once asked, "How can you govern a country with 246 varieties of cheese?" He was joking, mostly. France produces over 1,000 types of cheese, each region fiercely proud of its own. A good fromagerie owner knows every cheese's story: where the cows grazed, how long it aged, what wine pairs best. This isn't sales, it's transmission of knowledge. French cuisine gave the world its culinary vocabulary. Mise en place, sauté julienne, blanche. These aren't just techniques, they're a way of thinking about food as craft. France has more Michelin-starred restaurants than any country except Japan. But the stars matter less than the philosophy behind them. That presentation matters. That ingredients must be honored. That cooking is an art form. Yet perfection also exists in simplicity. Steak frite in a neighborhood bistro. Coq au vin simmered for hours. Ratatouille where each vegetable maintains its integrity. French cooking starts at the market. The best chefs shop daily, selecting ingredients at their peak. A tomato in August tastes nothing like a tomato in January. This matters. Wine is not an afterthought. It's part of the meal's architecture. A Bordeaux with lamb, a Chablis with oysters, a Sauternes with foie gras. These pairings developed over centuries. In Bordeaux, some wine cellars hold vintages from the 1800s, bottles worth thousands. But locals also drink simple table wine with every dinner. It's not about price. It's about the ritual of sharing wine with food. The French lunch used to stop the entire country. 2 hours minimum. Multiple courses. Wine. Coffee. Conversation. Modern life has accelerated this, but the ideal persists. Meals are for connection. A millefeuille has exactly 3 layers of puff pastry with 2 layers of cream. The top is glazed and often decorated with precise lines. Creating one takes years of training. Eating one takes minutes. The French consider this a fair exchange. The café terrace is France's living room. Order 1 espresso and you can sit for hours. No one will rush you. This is where Sartre and de Beauvoir wrote philosophy, where artists sketched, where regular people simply existed. Every region has its signature dishes. Marseille's bouillabaisse, Toulouse's cassoulet, Lorraine's quiche, Normandy's tarte tatin. Each one tells a story of local ingredients and historical necessity. But here's the secret. French food culture isn't about fancy restaurants. It's about the belief that eating together creates community, that good food deserves attention, that meals mark time and create memories. Loving the journey so far? Subscribe to our channel to explore the world with us every week. Now let's continue. France gave the world Impressionism, Cubism, Existentialism, and the Enlightenment. This isn't a coincidence. The Louvre holds 35,000 works of art on display. The Mona Lisa draws her crowds, but in quieter galleries you can stand alone with a Rembrandt, with a Delacroix, with pieces that changed how humanity sees itself. The Musée d'Orsay houses the world's finest collection of Impressionist art. These are paintings that were once rejected, called unfinished, too loose, too bright. Now they're France's most beloved treasures. Monet spent years painting water lilies in his garden at Giverny. The same subject over and over. Not from lack of imagination, but from obsession with light. With how a single scene transforms minute by minute. Rodin's The Thinker has become a symbol of contemplation itself. A man lost in thought, muscles tense with the effort of thinking. This is how France sees intellectual pursuit. Not as passive, but as active struggle. France reads more than most nations. Bookstores remain central to neighborhoods. The café as intellectual space. For centuries, French thinkers gathered in cafés to argue philosophy, politics, art. Café de Flore, Les Deux Magots, La Rotonde. These weren't just meeting places, they were incubators of thought. The Sorbonne has taught students since 1253. Nearly 800 years of scholarship in the same streets. This continuity of intellectual tradition shapes French education. The assumption that everyone should be able to discuss philosophy, art, politics. The Comédie Française has performed continuously since 1680. Molière's plays still draw crowds. The French don't treat culture as optional entertainment. It's essential nourishment. But French art isn't frozen in museums. Street art explodes across neighborhoods like Belleville. New voices, new techniques, new questions. The tradition continues not by copying, but by challenging. Fête de la Musique happens every June 21st. Musicians of all levels perform free concerts across every city. From classical to hip-hop. From amateurs to professionals. For one night, France becomes a concert. The Bibliothèque Nationale holds 14 million books, manuscripts dating back over 1,000 years. Every book ever published in France must be deposited here by law. It's not just storage, it's national memory. Philosophy isn't an academic specialty in France. It's a required subject in high school. The goal isn't answers, it's learning to question. France believes in debate as national sport. This can seem intimidating, but it's also an invitation to think deeper, to engage with life. France has 3,427 kilometers of coastline. Each kilometer tells a different story. The Côte d'Azur, the French Riviera. This is where Europe comes to see and be seen. Nice, Cannes, Monaco. Names that evoke wealth, beauty, and Mediterranean light that painters called perfect. Nice's Promenade des Anglais stretches 7 kilometers along the Bay of the Angels. The English built it in the 1820s. Now it's pure French Mediterranean. Palm trees, blue chairs, the sea an impossible shade of blue. The Cours Salea market bursts with color. Flowers, fruits, vegetables, all brighter than seems natural. This is food that grew in intense Mediterranean sun. It tastes different, more concentrated. Cannes hosts the world's most prestigious film festival each May. For 2 weeks, this beach town becomes the center of cinema. The red carpet, the yacht parties, the buying and selling of dreams. Monaco isn't technically France, but it's surrounded by it. The world's second smallest country. 2 square kilometers of concentrated wealth in Formula One racing. The Atlantic coast offers a different experience entirely. Bigger waves, wilder weather, the sense of an ocean, not a sea. Biarritz became fashionable when Napoleon III's wife made it her summer residence. Now it's a surf town with grand hotels. Basque culture mixes with French refinement. Brittany feels like another country. Celtic heritage persists. The language, the music, the food, crepes and cider instead of wine. We return to Mont Saint-Michel, this time from the sea's perspective. The tide here can rise 15 meters. When it comes in, it moves faster than a running horse. This is why the island remained a fortress for centuries. The Normandy landing beaches stretch for 80 kilometers. Omaha, Utah, Juneau, Gold, Sword. Names that mean nothing until you know the history. Then they mean everything. The American cemetery at Colleville-sur-Mer overlooks Omaha Beach. 9,387 American soldiers buried here. France maintains it immaculately, remembering. All along the coast, fishing villages maintain their rhythms. Boats leave before dawn, return with the day's catch. Fish markets sell it fresh. This cycle has continued for centuries. French oysters are famous worldwide. Arc-à-Champs alone produces 10,000 tons a year. Each one tastes of the specific water where it grew. The French can tell by taste which bay produced an oyster. But mostly, the coast is where France relaxes, where families vacation, where the pace dictated by tides and sun, where even the most stressed Parisian remembers how to simply be. The coast reminds France it's a maritime nation, that the sea brought trade, invasion, ideas, and culture, that France faces both continent and ocean, and that tension between land and water creates something unique. France respects seasons in ways modern life often forgets. Spring means asparagus. White asparagus from Alsace appearing in markets for exactly 6 weeks. French cooks don't try to extend it. When the season ends, they wait until next year. French gardens wake up in stages. First crocuses, then daffodils, then tulips. Each wave planned by gardeners who think in years, not months. Easter brings specific rituals. Chocolate bells supposedly fly to Rome and return with treats. Gigot d'agneau, roast lamb, appears on family tables. These traditions persist even in secular France. Summer transforms the countryside. Lavender harvest in Provence. Wheat fields turning gold in Burgundy. Days stretching until 10 p.m., the light French painters loved. Bastille Day, July 14th, celebrates the French Revolution. Military parades in Paris. Fireworks everywhere. Dancing in the streets. The Republic remembering itself. August means vacation. Traditionally, France simply shut down. Factories closed, shops closed. Everyone left for the coast or mountains. This has changed, but the ideal persists. Work can wait. Life can't. French vacation isn't about cramming in sights. It's about slowing down. Reading. Swimming. Long lunches. Conversations that meander. The luxury of time. Autumn brings vendange, the grape harvest. Entire families mobilize. This is when wine is made, a process that can't be rushed or delayed. The grapes decide the timing. Fall also means mushroom season. French families have secret spots they return to each year. Cèpe, girolles, truffles. Finding them requires knowledge passed down through generations. November 1st, All Saints' Day, brings chrysanthemums to cemeteries. Honoring the dead is not morbid in France. Its connection to family, history, continuity. Winter means Christmas markets, especially in Alsace, where German tradition mixes with French. Mulled wine, gingerbread, carved wooden ornaments. Cold nights made warm with tradition. New Year's Eve, Le Réveillon, demands champagne and oysters. Staying up until midnight isn't party excess. It's marking time, acknowledging the passage of one year to another. For those who can, winter means the Alps. Chamonix, Courchevel, Val d'Isère. Skiing is both sport and social ritual. Après-ski matters as much as the slopes. France's geography allows dramatic seasonal changes. Same place, completely transformed by the calendar. This reminds people they're part of nature, not separate from it. Watch a market across seasons and you see France's philosophy. Spring asparagus, summer tomatoes, fall mushrooms, winter root vegetables, each in its time. Each celebrated for that brief moment when it's perfect. Living by seasons isn't limitation, it's richness. It's knowing that cherries in June taste like no other time. That autumn's light is golden in a way summer's never is. That winter's cold makes spring's warmth sweeter. Liberté, égalité, fraternité. Liberty, equality, brotherhood. France's national motto since the Revolution. The French Revolution changed world history. The idea that power comes from the people, not divine right, that citizens, not subjects, that everyone is equal before the law. The eternal flame at the Arc de Triomphe burns for the unknown soldier. Every evening at 6:30, veterans associations rekindle it. Every evening. For over 100 years. This is memory as duty. France protests, often, loudly. This isn't chaos. It's democracy in action. The French believe if you disagree, you speak up. Silence is complicity. Strong unions protect workers' rights. 5 weeks of paid vacation, 35-hour work weeks. These didn't appear by chance. They were fought for, negotiated, defended. Free public education through university. This is republicanism in practice. Your ability to pay shouldn't determine your ability to learn. The system isn't perfect, but the ideal persists. Healthcare is a right, not a privilege. The French can't imagine it otherwise. You get sick, you get treated. The bill doesn't bankrupt you. Every commune has a town hall, a mairie. This is where citizens interact with government, where marriages happen, where voting occurs. The Republic made local. Public space matters in France. Not everything is privatized. Parks, plazas, river walks. These are where society happens, where strangers become neighbors. Culture isn't just for the elite. Museums have free days. Theaters receive subsidies. The government funds art because it believes culture elevates everyone. Modern France struggles with its ideals. Immigration, integration, identity. The motto says equality, but reality is messier. France is still becoming what it claims to be. The France of small villages isn't the France of Paris suburbs. Economic anxiety, cultural change, political division. The challenges are real. But French youth still believe in possibility, still protest, still argue, still think France can be better. The revolutionary spirit didn't die in 1789. The Pantheon holds France's heroes: Voltaire, Rousseau, Victor Hugo, Marie Curie. People who changed thought, art, science. A nation is only as great as whom it chooses to remember. France is not one thing. It's coastal and mountainous, urban and rural, traditional and modern, conservative and radical, Catholic and secular, all at once. So what makes France, France? It's the layers of Paris, the breadth of provincial life, the philosophy of food, the commitment to art and ideas, the drama of coastlines, the wisdom of seasons, the revolutionary spirit that still burns. But maybe it's simpler than that. Maybe France is just the belief that life deserves attention, that pleasure isn't frivolous, that beauty matters, that thinking is necessary, that how you live is as important as what you achieve. The French don't have everything figured out. No country does. They argue constantly. They're never satisfied. They demand better from their institutions, their leaders, themselves. But they've insisted for centuries that certain things matter. Good food, beautiful spaces, time to think, respect for craft, rights for workers, space to protest. France gave the world the metric system, cinema, and the rights of man, but its greatest gift might be simpler. The reminder that we're meant to savor life, not just endure it. This was Simply Global Travel. Join us, one journey at a time, as we explore the world through a fresh lens.